In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Okay, hello everyone. I'm sleepless, but there was a lot on my mind, and I don't know, somehow I found myself capable of giving a lecture now. Your emotions don't have to be based, they don't have to just be based on your past self. When there is the future, or when there's a future, or when there is an ability to consider future self, I find myself talking about something right now that is very important. And before this lecture today, I think I managed to explain it, but it's on my mind. It is a new discovery. You see, today I tapped into a new understanding that something I wasn't doing from the beginning of my life was to wonder about, when I get emotional, is the emotion arising based on the relationship of the present to the past? Or does it arise with the relationship of the present to the future? Now, the answer is that it's something probably like kind of both. But my view is this, and I'm making this claim here. This is the argument for the lecture. That our emotions, which find our current identity, if they are based on the past, they give a different emotional set. They give you an access to a different set of emotions compared to if you identify with your future. And this is something that I'm going to ask you to try right now. I want you to, for a second, consider that if I ask you, who are you right now? Your answer will be based on your past. Or usually when they say, like, how are you feeling, the person's giving the answer based on now. But in some sense, I'm trying to say that the whole species is emerging and has emerged and is identifying with the past to the present. And the emotion of that is very different than identifying based on the future. That means it's like somebody could come and ask me, who are you? And I could, somehow be teleported into an emotion of the past, and I'll be like, I'm a shy guy who, started talking a lot, right? But if you ask me, who are you? I can, in some sense, answer the question, who will I be? And so I will be like, I'm someone who in some sense is giving 10,000 talks, and, will finish it one day. I'm trying to tell you that you can identify with the emotions of your future self this whole time. And when you look at people, let's say two people in like trying to compete in something or in something in some field. Now imagine like somebody wants to become a fighter because they want to prove somebody is doing something. Imagine because they want to. I'm trying to say if you base it on an emotion on the past, it's going to be limited compared to. It's like I'm trying to tell you that you identify emotionally based on the past, but you can use your consciousness to identify with the future. In our past, we've done things, and we've kind of like, there's a program written so far. But you can also identify with what could be. You see, your body is in a sort of past going to it being present, and then the future, or the present being past and then being the future. But the mind is very different. I find that our minds are actually a life force, and this life force is able to remember memories, and it's able to remember visualizations or project visualizations. Now, we don't usually talk about it in the sense like, yo man, I'm remembering my future right now if I'm visualizing probabilities to the future behind my eyes. Do you understand? I'm telling you that globally, like as human beings, everything is so based on the past to the present that we don't even wonder what the present to the future can be, or what sort of space can arise. Like, do you know what I'm saying? If I identified based on my past, I would never have given the talks. Because in my past, I didn't trust myself, I didn't trust the world, and I was shy. I was ridiculously introverted and shy. But for some reason, when the sentence came in, this was the blessing. I think of, like, this is what's made me continue so far. That it was something in the future. 10,000 talks for the betterment of mankind. As if any time I forgot, or any time I was depressed, or there was something going on where I was like comparing the past to the present and being like, why is it like this? Do you know? It was as if there was a moment where I was like, okay, you can't do anything about your past self. It's kind of there in your mind as like some sort of, emotional, energetic thing. But the future is waiting. The future self could be different. And so right now, if you ask me, how many memories do you have of your past self? I'll be like, I have one memory per the time of the experience. But if you ask me how many visualizations you have of the future, I have way more. So my mind is behaving multidimensional when it comes to the future, but is treating itself as not multidimensional when it was the past, but the past used to be a future itself. So I'm trying to say that what we see happening on this planet is that humans are treating their past, human beings are treating their past as singular, but they treat the future before it has arrived as probabilistic, as multidimensional. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you tell me, how did yesterday feel? I'll tell you, like, I lived through it. It was like a specific feeling, a specific like written code. But if you ask me, how does tomorrow feel for you now? Well, depends on all the different things I can do tomorrow. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you that you don't just have emotions based on your past. You have emotions for your future. I remember once, not just once, but there was just one moment where my mind fast forwarded like a film. It fast forwarded like a film, and it was as if, you don't know, but in my mind, I've stood above my own gravestone, wondering what sentence would be there. Do you know what I'm saying? And that made me emotional, like seeing someone else's, death. Yes, that makes you emotional. It's a loss of some part of your reality. But to kind of see the main thing you were identifying with no longer you, like I'm trying to tell you guys that we think of it this way: the human being is like a line being drawn on a piece of paper. This line so far has been drawn some way in your lifetime so far. But I'm telling you, instead of identifying with how you've drawn your, like, the picture of your life or how you've lived so far, you can also be inspired and influenced by your future self's emotion. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the way we've been taught and raised what we are is very different from what we are, because there are dimensions to what we are that cannot be spoken. You know, that's the thing about the linguistic simulation. Whatever moves it, the language can't define the mover. It can define the movement, but it can't define the mover. Right? So we're in this world trying to like pinpoint something in nouns and verbs and realizing like, all right, truth could be beyond the human framework. Now, not to get to like that deep right away, but just to tell you that, just think about it, that how many moments of your life, the value of your life was based on the past to the present. And the cool thing is that you don't know how your future is going to feel. You don't know how tomorrow you're going to feel. You don't know what's going to happen, years from now. So what's fascinating is that the present moment seems to be not only the future of the past, not only the past of the future, but as a present force capable of accessing both visions. So in front of my eyes, my body's in the present, but behind my eyes, it's my mind is acting like yesterday isn't over because the memory is there. Do you see? I'm saying your body is not in yesterday anymore, right? Like yesterday, who you were is gone, and now you're you, but the mind doesn't act like that. The mind acts like, yo man, it's a memory. I have access to this memory. The mind seems to, at least for during the temporary life, immortalize the memory. Your mind is acting like an immortal if you can remember the past. It's not letting go of that past self that you lived through, even though your body has. This is a very important point, like. So anyways, the whole point of it is, have you wondered who you would identify as if it was not based on present perception of you compared to a memory, if it was the present version of you compared to a visualization? That means your past proved to you what you have been so far. But the future remains. That means, I think about it. Let me tell you, I'll give you an example. I'll show it to you. Right now, I'll show you, like picking apples from a tree, how I can extract emotions from my future self. And that can guide me. That I can identify with the emotion of what I will be or can be compared to what I have been. What I have been is never that impressive to me. It's kind of like, all right, man, you were some intelligence, some kind of being at that time. You did something. At the time, it was the best you could do. That's why that happened. But now, like, you know what it is? It's like me not identifying, like to some degree, even if somebody comes and compliments me now of like the talks I've given, like how many, I'll be like, the future, compared to the future, it's like nothing. That means, are you more fascinated by how far you've come, or are you more fascinated by how far you will go? I am way more fascinated by who I will be tomorrow compared to who I was yesterday, simply because I've seen it. If I'm, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to, the memory is just proof that I lived that. It's kind of like wondering, how many different ways you've lived in this life, how many ways you've lived that are still looping, and how many ways you haven't lived. Honestly, guys, as a human, as a member of the human species, I'm saying it to the whole human species, your life, your emotions, your behavior, everything changes when you actually appreciate the unknown bit more than you know. Like, bit more than the known. Do you know what that means? That means if you act like the past is the conclusion of your value, you are legit avoiding the future. And that is not practical. I think when I look at human beings on earth, they're all living for their future selves. They're all living for the value their future self will feel. Like, why am I giving these talks? Because it's going to make me feel like, all right, you updated the system before you left it. And I have very deep views on really what's going on this planet, because I've come to the conclusion that the human being cannot live properly or cannot manage their emotions, thoughts, and a lot of their intelligence if they don't acknowledge a higher ideal. Now, some people make themselves the higher ideal, so I'm pretty much saying, like, if you live for your past self, that's like not that good. If you live for your present self, all right. If you live for your future self, great. If you live for the future of your species, of your world, do you understand how big the game is? And I'm just trying to tell you that there may come some days on this life where your whole past, the weight of your past kind of like, avalanches on your present. You might find yourself, in this world kind of feeling, I don't know, there's been times where there's been my current identity in the present, but I haven't had the emotion of that identity. Like, I don't think a lot of human beings realize that what they are identifying with and what they're feeling could be completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could identify as a social person. The human being has the capacity to play a role. Like, I don't know how the viewers have seen it throughout the years of me giving these talks, but trust me, some of it is just me playing the role. Because if I zoom in on my own emotional preference, the talk is then for me. It's not for others. Do you know what I'm saying? I personally believe that one of the most healthiest things that a human being can do is to live for something that's more important than them. Okay? Now, when we consider what's more important than you, it is in some sense the future. And the interesting thing about the future is that it's more unknown than known. The past is more known than unknown. Do you know? So it could be that just because we've lived through life, like I've lived through 12,000 days on this planet, you could kind of say, all right, man, let's say for each day you were a new self. Every day I woke up and I'm like, it's a new day. It's a new self. And then I felt like I'm from Jersey. Hey. But I'm trying to tell you that let's just say, even though it's 100% been more, but let's say I've identified through 12,000 selves. That means on this planet right now, 100% more, like the number's more, but let's say 12,000 days, 12,000 senses of self. Now, in these 12,000 days of living on this planet, some of these days, the emotion didn't match the self. Some of those days, it was just, I was obsessed about my past, like I wanted to rewrite it. Some of those days, I didn't even care about my past. It was all about how fascinating the future will be. And I was raised at a time, I'm going to say this because it's 2025, where everybody, everything, society is just based on, so you're treated as an identity. Your identity is based on your past. Do you know what that means? I'll give you an example. I have a twin brother. When I was young, my family, like 11 years old or something, we would every couple years go see my aunt in Hamburg, Germany. And what was interesting is I could notice that, like, okay, I haven't seen my aunt in 5 years, but the impressions I have on her are based on when I saw her 5 years ago. But there is no way she is who she used to be 5 years ago. But even though she would communicate, she would demonstrate the same role of like being, a loving aunt. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, what I'm trying to tell you is that we identify based on the past, based the past to the present, and I'm saying that that's like it's like we're just using one edge of the sword, but the sword is double-edged. This whole time, the moments I felt, weak or not confident, it was simply because my attention was more on the past than the present. It's like I hadn't experienced a victory in my past, so the present couldn't feel victorious. But this didn't mean I couldn't have victories in the future. And one of my struggles was that it's kind of weird. It's like when I think about my youth, it's like I didn't acknowledge myself as a person. I acknowledged everybody else, but I didn't acknowledge myself really with the same freedom. Sometimes when I look back at my youth, I gave way more freedom to others than I felt I deserved myself. And it's not wrong, It's like somebody once came up to me and it's like, "Yo, man, are you conscious of the sentence, of this verse that says, 'Do not cast pearls in front of swine'?" And I was like, "Okay, good thing we're not pigs." And good things I'm not somebody casting pearls. I'm joking, guys. What that sentence means is that you shouldn't share something of a higher nature, of a higher understanding to someone who was at a phase that has a lower understanding. But in my view, my honest response, this is what I said. To be honest, my brother said this to me, but somebody else had said it before also. But anyways, the whole point of it is that I just looked at my brother. Honestly, I said this today to him. I said to him, what did I exactly say? I said to him, "Bro, it's not even pearls in front of swine. The civilization can be so advanced, even if I could give 1,000,000 pearls to 1,000,000 swine, it wouldn't be enough." That's how advanced the future is. Like just for a second, consider this is for me. One of my hobbies is fascination. I just like find something about the world to get fascinated by, and it suddenly adds depth and color and beauty to my life. Fascination is one of the most important things I think in life. But I'm trying to tell you that. Have you ever wondered, like just whoever you are now, just for a second, have you ever wondered what kind of different values, emotions you're going to feel in the future? Have you just thought that, okay, let's say you have a capacity to imagine like what you're going to feel in the next 100 years. Now, I want you to imagine the billions and billions of children and human beings that will be born on this planet and the complexity of the emotions they have. Like right now, human beings are experiencing a level of emotional life, with emotional intensities that like our ancestors didn't have access to. So to me, it fascinates me what vastness of awareness the future will have access to. And what's really beautiful is you can have as big of an ego. You could think you're the king of the world. The future generations will see your blind spots, and they'll be like, was this guy a humble peasant or not? That's the whole point. So I'm telling you, it's a joy. It's a hidden joy for me to feel for the first. You don't understand, guys. I've had the biggest breakthrough of my life today. That's why you don't understand. Everything changed because I've understood that I've been spending years of my life identifying with emotions in my past looping. And this whole time, there is this vast array of so many different ways the mind can visualize itself. I am telling you, You have been identifying as the human intelligence with your memories. Yet your visualizations are parallels to them, but they're contexted and unknown. If somebody tells me what's the difference between a visualization and a memory, I'll be like, a visualization is contexted. It's known. Its context is known. But excuse me, the memory, the context is known. The visualization, the context is unknown. Do you understand? I could imagine right now, like this car I'm in being a flying car, or I could imagine, all right, in the next year there's going to be flying cars. Do you know? Now that visualization could be wrong. It could be wrong. It could be like by next year the technology isn't there, or it could be that the technology is going to appear in 10 years from now, but my mind can access its emotion. I can visualize what it's going to be, me looking out my window, or the intensity of the wind hitting my car if it was 100 meters in the air. Like if I just open my window, I'll be like, okay, close it now. So what I'm telling you, dear listener, dear human being, I'm a member of the species, so are you. We're all in the same game. If life was meant to be lived completely alone, there shouldn't have been a body. But because they're all our bodies are in the same physical server, I'm saying to you that really you have been able to use your human intelligence this whole time, not just based on a past activation, but based on a future. Now, I'm not saying like you can be your future self now, but you are being your future self's memory. That is for sure. And the emotions, like, do you understand what I'm telling you guys? I'm saying that I've discovered that my whole life was limited to just my emotions based on my past senses of self. And I've now discovered I can feel my future self. I can imagine what it's going to feel like when I give that last talk, like the 10,000th talk. For example, I don't know if it's in God's, may God willing, I can finish it. But I'm saying that the amount of emotions I can extract from future probabilities are way more. Like, you don't understand. I'm telling you, somehow humanity didn't teach you how to use your future. But behind your eyes, your mind has always been living ahead of your body. That's the reason the body we can even talk about it. Our intelligence is moving faster. Like, I'll give you an example. You're sitting on the couch watching TV, you suddenly get thirsty, and in your mind, you've already opened the fridge door and you're pouring some orange juice in a glass. So do you see what that means? That means you're sitting on the couch, but in your mind, you lived ahead. And you opened the fridge door. You're sitting on the couch physically, but in your mind, you've already opened the fridge door and are pouring the oranges. This means that this whole time, they've been conditioning you and trying to tell you you're a physical being, but you have been influenced by abstract events that don't exist anymore. We call those memories. And by abstract events that may exist, we call those visualizations or probabilities. So right now, try it for yourself. Train. Every day, wake up and train and be like, okay, what would me in the future feel like? And in some sense, what would my future self, how would my future self feel? You can't see it through its eyes, but you can say, how would my future self feel about how aware I am of my blind spots now? Because one thing is for sure, your awareness to your blind spots has increased. That's unavoidable. As you live in life, your awareness just increases. Like there's things I'm not doing now where I used to do as a kid. As a kid, I couldn't even like give this lecture. Like if I was young and somebody's gonna be like, in my introverted and shy days, if somebody came up to me and was like, hey buddy, in a couple of years you're gonna talk a lot, I'd be like, what? I'd probably avoid you. I'd be so shy. That means my biggest challenge is if I had a time machine and I went back in the past and talked to myself, would that self be too shy to talk back? And I'll be like, probably. You know what I mean? But anyways, what I'm trying to tell you, think about how much okay, this is what I'll say. Every experience we've had on this planet has had an emotional logic. Now, you as a human being are being raised in this world. They teach you have a body, and they teach you have a mind. When it comes to your mind, they teach you about subjects. When it comes to your body, they teach you about objects. One thing they don't teach, which is kind of you learn on the way, but they can teach, is emotional logic. And it's this understanding that some moments in your youth, you might have done something or done something, and it's an unresolved emotional logic. So what does that mean? That means imagine me when I'm a young version of me. let's say let's say there's a person. This person goes and talks to a beautiful woman. They say what they can, and in that moment, they say something nice, they compliment the person, and imagine the person's like, fuck you. I mean, that's not normal. What I'm saying, they imagine they're rude. So in your mind, based on that past experience of, you doing something nice, somebody returning that niceness with rudeness, there was an emotional illogic. There was an illogical emotion. That means you couldn't understand your emotion. You couldn't understand what was emotionally happening. Do you know what I mean? It was interpreted differently. And years later, you're going to be like, why is it that when I see beautiful women, do you know what I mean? A part of me just, doesn't like to go approach them. Do you know what I mean? Not because I'm not in love with them, but just because the emotional logic, there was an emotional illogic. For example, me being shy, I'll give you, this is a perfect example actually. Me being shy in my youth, in all those years, there was a point where even now I look back at it and I'm like, yo man, there was no logical explanation why you didn't feel you could be a person around other people. Do you know what I mean? And you correct the illogical emotional imprints on your past selves based on how you envision now. So you see, you're not just growing on this planet physically. You have this thing called awareness, and it's like your radar, your proximity of awareness, and that is expanding too. But it doesn't expand, like if you're growing, let's say, horizontally as a dimension, physically, awareness is like a vertical dimension. Do you know what I mean? There's a part of you that is aware of the different ways you have been you so far until now. But it's up to you if you care, like how Carl Jung said, unless we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you call it fate. I'm saying we can make the future unconscious conscious now. And just think about it. How many things, like how I see it? I see it as a language. I see that human beings are born in this world. They learn a physical language of behavior. They learn a psychological language of subjective character and a story identity. And yet there is an emotional language. And in some cultures, based on the configurations of their societies, the people have way more advanced emotional language. But you can also see mathematics as a language. And do you know what I mean? Like people in the West might, like some people in America are way more, they speak a way more better emotional language, right? That means they're emotionally more free, creatively even. But those people from the East, they are analytically more free. What I'm trying to tell you is that we're learning a bunch of languages. Not all these languages are like, yo man, I learned English, I learned Farsi. It's not just those kind of languages. It's a language of, okay, what does it mean to feel like this in this moment? And usually we're not conscious. Now, take this in. The reason I brought up the idea of emotional logic is because the breakthrough I had today is that anytime any moment, I could just pause my moment and be like, all right, if I'm feeling something now, is it based on my past or is it based on my future? This was the breakthrough. That before, if an emotion would come and I would identify it with it, now I'm like, wait a minute, am I feeling the way I'm feeling because something in the present triggered the past, or is it based on some future vision? That means if somebody, like when somebody gets fired, you know, it's like something's being taken from their future. Do you know? Or when somebody's, let's say, was a good person in their past, and somebody says, hey, you're a bad person, it's like something's being taken from their past. Do you know? And it's so important that you immediately, as a human being, realize that you are not the language. That means if somebody comes and says, hey, you're awesome, that doesn't mean you're awesome. Do you know what I mean? If somebody comes and says you're evil, that doesn't mean you're evil. It means that one organism has generated this perception when they saw you. It's a specific past self in them got triggered that right now their current identity has that emotion. I don't think I explained that well, but I think the message got through. So anyways, wonder about all the different ways this whole time you could have felt about what you could have been. Not regret. I'm not saying I'm not saying think about your past to your future. I'm saying kind of divide it. Think of it like you lived a life from the past to the present. That's in the domain of memory. And now you're living a life from the present to the future, from the future to the present, you know, or from the present to the future until you realize it's actually the future to the present. One day you will realize that who you are now is who your future self is remembering right now. And ultimately, there's an awareness. They say the soul is, traditionally, there was the idea of mind, body, soul, body, mind, soul. And the soul, I am Muslim, I'm a Muslim futurist. And being Muslim, the soul is a secret of God. But what I'm telling you is that the soul can be seen as the seat of awareness. It's as if, where does a changing world land? It has landed in the awareness of a person, of a being. As much as I am in the world is also in my experience. It's like I am in the existence of the world, but the world is in the experience of me. But who am I in the middle of all of this? I am the awareness that in some sense has noticed objects and subjects change. And today I managed to unlock how there has been an emotional life I've been living this whole time. And I wasn't aware of it, and because I wasn't aware of it, I couldn't be responsible. You know, I'm saying this, hopefully the younger generations hear me and they kind of avoid what I could have, you know? That means there's been days where I've just felt worthless because, you know, I didn't see any worth up to now. But when I realized I could have, like this whole time, you know, every person I've seen, I've judged them based on their past, but I could, in some sense, the future means you don't know what value that being can generate. Right now, you're a being. You have a value. To you, somebody may see you and be like, yo, you know, this person, I read this about them, this is them. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, who knows what you will do tomorrow? That's the incredible thing about life. That the future will surprise you. And you will surprise the future in regards to what memory you create for it. When it's on a personal level, like if right now I see life in 4 categories: self, species, world, system, admin. In these 4 levels, it's as if, how do I say it? It's as if like it's like that beautiful moment where your attention goes to the system admin, the original truth of the simulated realm, and you suddenly see that everything has a future. Because the world changes. If the world was a snapshot photo or a statue, that'd be a different thing. It's not a painting on a wall. It's a film that somehow we've been privileged to be part of now. So wonder about, like right now, there's war happening between nations. And so it scares me. In the present, I have fear because it can escalate to a world war scenario. But I think about the future. I think about the United Species Council that will arrive in the future. I think about the Species Unity Day. I think about those world leaders who realize they have the greatest opportunity to be the greatest leaders in history by just coming and declaring that we have all been identifying with chunks of land and the unique behaviors we've had on those lands, which have become culture. But this whole time, we have been a species on Earth, and when we forget that, nations form, wars form, differences form, and we destroy each other because we have become strangers when we are of the same species. So right now, my political view is that an emotionally immature species with a fragmented psyche in regards to nationalism is going to move into speciesism. That means I'll give you an example. Think of it this way, in like 500 years, even let's say 1,000 years from now, you're not going to see nationalistic entities. That means in the future, if they're like, yo man, where are you from? It's like everybody's from the earth. If they're like, who are you? Every human being's a member of the human species. If you say, yo man, I'm from I'm from, Canada, they'll be like, what is Canada? It's like, and you'll explain it to them, and you'll be like, so imagine from 1,000 years where the species is united, a time traveler comes here now, and they're like, yo man, what's going on? And I'll tell them, like, guys, I'm from Canada, I was born in Iran, but I was raised in Canada, and I'm a Canadian citizen. They'll be like, what? You're a citizen? What is that? I'll be like, I'll be like, I'm a citizen of a nation. And they'll be like, what do you mean a nation? What is that? And I'll be like, you don't have nations in the future? And they'll be like, no, it's just one species on Earth. And I'll be like, oh my God, what have we been spending our 20, past doing? Do you know what I mean? It's a fabrication. We are fabricating our separations, our differences. And on some level, we need it. We need to be, like, I'm happy that we're not all clones of, like, one being, like one human. Everybody's, like, the same human, do you know? Like, I'm happy we all have different DNAs. We're not all just one kind of being, right? But at the same time, I'm fascinated by why 8 billion different variations to the human form would be in the same place to, like, engage each other. Why would we be designed with mouths and ears? Do you understand? The purpose of the mouth is not just survival, it's communication. Do you understand? The genius of the design, of the human design, is that you're not just here to consume, you're here also to share. That means you don't know the greatness that flows through you. And your past may distract you from it, but your future is its promise. So whoever you are, you can feel the future. Behind your eyes, you can access the future. Like in behind my eyes, I'm already walking in sky cities, but in front of my eyes, The sky's up there. And it all comes back to what I said to you earlier, that there's a simulation and there's an original. And it all returns to the system admin. That means, as a Muslim, if you ask me, what is your future? I will say the future of all simulated phenomena, the future of the original awareness to all simulated phenomena is a return to the original. So, as a Muslim, I am not dying in a simulation, I am returning to the original. I am going to go meet the system admin, because this world to me is not an endless school. It is not a loop. If it's looping, it's weird. People, yogis, they're like, yeah, man, we're reincarnating here. I'll be like, yo, man, that's equivalent to a kid failing a class. And the whole point of it is that this world is not a school. It is like we've been invited to someone's house, but their house is world-sized. Now, imagine you invite guests to your home, and the guests start acting like they own the home. You'll be like, yo, man, get out of here. You know what I mean? And I think the main purpose of human intelligence, and the proof of it is, compared to any other species on this planet, we have the most advanced ability to acknowledge a higher power. It is to notice that your limitations are proof of the limitless. My brother said something so profound to me. He said, I exist because I don't. Something in those lines. And it took me a while to realize what it means. That the presence of being, it's like the experiencer is beyond the experience. The awareness is beyond the content. Your true identity is not you identifying with a simulated realm. It is actually the seat of your awareness. You are a very advanced being. The human being is like advanced technology. And as a human being, I'm just in these talks trying to explain different ways that perhaps uncharted territory of ways we can, live that we haven't. And that's the beautiful thing about life, that if it was all known, it'd be over. If your life is still happening, it's because the unknown remains. And the beautiful thing about all knowledge is that it roots back to the deep mystery. It's as if we're all returning to the origin. In the same way you've entered a world room and you will leave this world room, it's also the same way of saying you left the original room and now you're returning. You will return to the original state of being. So appreciate your simulations. Appreciate how many different simulations are kept so that you could identify with anything at all. We are in a very advanced place, and my personal view is there is an invisible divine management here. There is a system administration going on, administrator. The system administrator has no equal partner in the simulation. So if somebody says, is truth beyond your thoughts, your body, your mind, and even your soul, I will say that's the point of it. Because if my soul was truth, then the moment I'm aware of it, I should be truth. But reality is simulated. My body's here for some time. The cosmos is here for some time. The ideas are here for some time. My energy levels are like this for some time, And life is, of course, like a bell curve, Even though we're conditioned to think that it's like a diagonal, endlessly going up arrow. Anyways, thank you for listening. And just know that from the beginning until now, this whole time, you could have any time, any moment you've taken that you've felt incomplete based on the past. I'm telling you, wonder about how you would feel from the present to the future, not from the past to the present. It'll fascinate you if you truly understand what I'm telling you here. And I hope you do, and I hope it was clear enough. Anyways, thank you for listening, guys. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. For the future generations, smile already united.